Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hugger Age Raven. I'm here with my recap and review of Claw season number 4, episode number 1. And yeah, season number 4 is going to be the final season, and this show is ending. I really enjoyed watching this show, and I am disappointed at its ending. But you know what? We still got 4 seasons, so that's good. And yeah, TNT decided to bring it back for a final season, and it didn't just end things with season number 3 with the cliffhanger, which was basically Anne and Desna being rivals now, especially because of what Anne did in the previous season, where she burned the entire casino down. So yeah, I'm glad that we still got a final season to tie things up. So the episode opens up with Anne, and she's at this dock, and she's all suited up, and then Desna comes in, and I'm like, wait, is this really happening? Is this supposed to be some sort of dream sequence? But yeah, considering what happens, I think that this is likely a dream sequence. But anyway, these two talk about how they have these very yeah, they basically have bad blood between them. Both of them don't really want to accept what they did wrong. And yeah, as far as Anne is concerned, she's pregnant. She blames Desna for Arlene's death, and she's like, Desna, that casino got to your head and you got greedy, and look where that got us. And Desna is like, well, you ruined my entire plan, and you betrayed me. I don't want anything to do with you. And then these two women end up drawing guns at each other. I'm like, wait, what the heck is happening? And Anne is like, you wouldn't shoot a pregnant woman, right, Desna? And she does. She literally shoots Anne right in the chest, and she falls into the water and she drowns. And Desna is like, say hello to Arlene for me. And I'm like, really? Is this a dream sequence? Is this supposed to be a hint about what's to come? I'm kind of worried. So yeah, in the premiere episode, we see that Desna is a she is very, very different. This is a very different kind of Desna. She's very, very hurt by what Anne did, which makes sense because we all know that when a friend hurts you, one of your best friends who have been with you for years, when that person hurts you, it really, really hurts. Like that's the real deal. So we get to see Desna walking into her parlor, and we have Jen, we have Polly, we have Virginia there, and yeah, Desna is very happy because she's like, you know what, Clay, Uncle Daddy ended up paying the lead investigator, so we are off the hook. And yeah, basically everything that kind of happened in season number 3, that's been taken care of. Roller ran away. He's been written off the show, and basically these women are more or less where they began. So it's a new beginning for them, and they can kind of decide where they want to go next. And yeah, everyone's happy, and they're like, you know what? We have the license. Uncle Daddy still needs us, so we'll continue laundering his money from the pills that he sells, and then we can kind of look into our future and what we want to do and our business ventures. So it's a good little conversation. However, you can see that there's a lot of tension because even though Desna and Anne aren't really talking to each other, Jennifer, Polly, and Virginia, they miss Anne and they want Desna and Anne to mend the relationship. While that's happening, we get to see Dean. He's doing a live. So basically, Dean has decided to be a social media influencer, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to start a new live series which is basically like Dean on the Spectrum or something to that effect, where he'll just sit down and he'll answer questions that people ask of him. But no one really asks anything, and there's only one person, and he ends up commenting that whatever Dean's doing, it's boring. Then we cut to Bryce, and he ends up going to this hidden weird place where there's a cage match happening, and Uncle Daddy is in there fighting, and he is winning. It's a very, very bloody cage match, and Uncle Daddy is enjoying himself. And then he ends up meeting Bryce, and Bryce is like, you know what? Uncle Daddy, now that Roller is gone, I'm ready to step up. I'm ready to work with you. And yeah, this is basically where Uncle Daddy tells Bryce that, you know what, I'm going to get back in the game. I'm ready. Are you with me, Bryce? And Bryce is like, yep, I'm with you. But of course, trouble happens as the episode continues. So Jennifer decides to go and meet Anne. She's living in this trailer park, and Anne is very happy to meet Jen, and Jen brought her kids' old clothes for Anne, and of course, Anne is very happy about it. She doesn't have a job, she doesn't have a lot of money, and she's pregnant. She needs to eat, she needs to be taken care of. And Jennifer is like, oh, Anne, I'm going to support you, but you need to think of something. You need to mend things with Desna. And Anne is like, yeah, Jen, that's not happening. So Dean has also been working on the website for Desna's salon, and this is what he came up with. It's an entire website. They even have a crossword puzzle, and Desna is very appreciative of Dean. She's like, thank you, Dean, for doing this. And she ends up telling Dean that, you know what, family is very important. And Dean is like, yeah, I understand that. So Jen comes back in, and it turns out that while she was out, Desna ended up getting a letter in the mail. And yeah, apparently their rent is being hiked up 3 times. And of course, Desna is very, very angry about it. She's like, that's a lot of money to be asking for rent. Jen comes in after meeting Anne, and this is where Polly fills her in about the rent price being hiked up. But Jen is like, you know what? I just came back from meeting Anne, and Polly and Virginia are like, oh, how was Anne? Is she okay? What did you guys talk about? And but before they can actually have a conversation, that's like, you know what, we need to go and talk to these people, these corporate people who ended up buying the mall, and they are the reason that the prices are being hiked up. And the crew is like, yeah, let's go. So Bryce decides to go to Uncle Daddy, and yeah, this is where he ends up telling Uncle Daddy about the rent being hiked up. And Uncle Daddy is like, "Hey, I don't care about that. We'll be fine. We'll be sending a whole lot of bills anyway, so I can handle the rent." And this is also where Uncle Daddy is like, you know what? But the other business venture we had of rehab, yeah, we need to cut that out. It's a loss. And yeah, if I remember correctly, the rehab was Bryce's idea, and you can tell that Bryce is disappointed that Uncle Daddy isn't continuing with it. And yeah, this is where Bryce is like, you know what, Uncle Daddy, with Roller gone, I'm ready to step up. You need to give me more responsibility. And bringing up Roller, that yeah, that makes Uncle Daddy sad. And Bryce is like, hey, Uncle Daddy, I'm here for you. So let's get on this pill selling business. So Desna and the crew end up going to this corporate building, and yeah, they have this entire future of the area planned out, and you can actually see what they want. They need, let's see, they need a watercraft microbrewery and grill, a dog spa. We have a coast gourmet coffee, Pilates studio. Yeah, Pilates studio. We have a sea sushi bar, sports arena, football stadium, a whole lot. So yeah, things are changing. It's the area is being gentrified, and that's one of the reasons that the prices are being hiked up. And Desna and the crew aren't for it. So Desna goes to talk to this very young receptionist, and yeah, the receptionist is like, well, no one is here to talk to you right now, so I can't help you. And Desna's like, yeah, I'm not going to take no for an answer. So she runs away. She gets on the elevator, and she, I think, has to go to the ninth floor. She reaches there, and yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing. And Tesla's like, damn it. So we cut to Anne, and yeah, I really felt for Anne during this scene, because she has a degree, she has an education, but because of her criminal record, she can't really get a proper high-paying job. But she still tries. She goes to Sarasota State University, where she ends up meeting one of her peers. I guess these two were TAs back in the day. And yeah, it's a very good conversation in the beginning, but as they're going through her resume, she has written down that she was in jail. She was like in prison for 5 years. And Anne is like, I've changed, and I'm ready to do better so that I can be a good mom for my upcoming baby. And yeah, her friend can't help her out. So yeah, Anne can't get a high-paying, respected job the way she wanted. So she'll have to think of something else. While that's happening, of course, Desna and the crew get out of the plaza. They're like, well, that was useless. But this is where Desna is like, you know what? We aren't giving up. We have to do something. It's not like I'm like, we have to think. We have to figure out how to pay the rent. And I have an idea. And this is where she's like, you know what? We're the one who have the pill license, right? And Uncle Daddy needs us. But what we don't need is to be paying this high rent. So she's like, you know what? Because Uncle Daddy needs us, and his pill business is going to be booming, I'm going to put the rent on his tab, and I'm going to extort from him. And they're like, you know what? That's a good plan. Let's just do that. So Desna goes and meets with Uncle Daddy. She's like, Uncle Daddy, any opinions about the price hike of the rent? And Uncle Daddy's like, hey, I'll be okay. Our pills will sell. And Desna's like, well, that's good to hear, because I'm upping my license fee. And Uncle Daddy doesn't appreciate that at all. He's like, really? You're going to extort money from me? And Desna's like, well, that's how the cookie crumbles. So either you're in with the plan or not. So think about it. And yeah, I'm like, Desna, do you really want to get on the wrong side of Uncle Daddy? He's angry. He's kind of impulsive. He might try to hurt you. But yeah, Desna has no other options right now. So Dean's live Instagram series isn't doing really well, so he decides to talk to Virginia about some tips about how to improve his social media presence. And yeah, this is where Virginia's like, "Tell me your plan," and Dean tells her that he's just going to sit on the couch and talk and answer questions. And Virginia's like, "Well, that's boring because people want something exciting to see on online. They want something hot to see." And this is where she ends up telling Dean to spice things up. And yeah, Virginia really likes the fact that even though they aren't together, they're still friends. They can still be close together. And I'm like, maybe these two will get back together by the end of the season. Who knows? So Desna comes back into the salon and she's like, "You know what? I just told Uncle Daddy about the licensing fee increase, and if he isn't on board with it, well, we'll have to do without him." And Jen is like, "What do you mean we'll have to do without him? We can't just stop selling pills. We need the money. We have to launder money for Uncle Daddy." And Desna's like, "Well, why don't we sell the pills ourselves?" And Jen is like, "Really, really?" He's like, "Yeah, we have the connections, we have the license, we can sell the pills ourselves, and then we'll be able to make the rent and even more." And they're like, "Okay, but what about Uncle Daddy?" That's not like, "We'll handle him when the time comes." And this is also where Jen is like, "But what about a licensed doctor who's going to prescribe the pills?" That's like, "Well, I have an idea for that." So these two end up talking, they go and talk to Ken. And Ken is like, "Really, you want me to betray Uncle Daddy?" And that's like, "Well, Uncle Daddy hasn't been paying you what you're actually worth, right? We'll pay you a better fee." And yeah, this is also where they play the Polly angle, because Ken still has a crush on Polly. And they're like, "If you do this for us, you'll get to see Polly more often." And Jen is like, "Well, Polly likes men who stand up for themselves, who take a stand for the people they love. Are you in, Ken? Are you that kind of man?" And Ken is like, "Yep, I'm that kind of man." And yeah, this is also, I forgot to mention that Jen was like, "Okay, so we're going to sell pills. How are we going to do that? We don't have pills." And Desna's like, "Well, we can talk to Ken." And this is where Ken is like, "Well, I can put an order for your shipment, but it won't arrive in after like a couple of weeks from now." But Desna's like, "Well, we can't really wait that long." And this is where they come up with a plan to steal the pills from Uncle Daddy. So Dean tries Virginia's idea, and he's like, "You know what? For every question that's being asked, and if I answer it, I'm going to take off one article of clothing," and that works. People are tuning in; they're asking questions. They just want to see a naked Dean. So Virginia and Polly end up talking to Anne, and they're actually very happy to reconnect with her again, and they're worried about her as well. And Desna is messaging them, and Anne is like, "You know what? Don't worry, we're all adults now. I won't ask you to choose sides. I know that you have a connection with Desna as well." And yeah, this is where Anne talks about how she went with Joe to burn the casino down, and Polly doesn't like that. Polly is like, "Really, really, you went with Joe? Why didn't he invite me? I thought that he loved me," and all of that stuff. And Virginia and Anna's like, "Polly, you need to move on. Forget about Joe." And Polly is actually very annoyed by it, and she's like, "And you want me to move on? Well, why don't you get over what you did and make up with Desna?" And yeah, Anne doesn't appreciate her tone. She gets up and she's about to walk away, but Polly apologizes. She's like, "We already have a lot of bad blood because of you and Anne. I don't want more bad blood to be added because of me. So I apologize. I just want things to go as they were. Yeah, go back to as they were." And Anna's like, "Yeah, I understand that, but Desna and I, it's not happening. It's not happening." And also during their conversation, Anne is like, "Well, can I come over to the salon sometime when Desna isn't there so that I can pick up my stuff?" And Polly is like, "Yep, you can come tomorrow at 6 p.m., which ends up being a lie, which I'll get to in a bit. So Anne decides to search for more jobs. She goes and decides to become a masseuse, but the man that she ends up giving a massage to, he's like, "Give me a happy ending." Anne doesn't like that. She tries to become a bartender. That doesn't pan out either. And then she's like, "I'll milk snakes for you." And yeah, the guy is like, "No, I can't hire a pregnant lady." So it's bad. It's bad. And I'm like, can't Anne like contact her queer brother who was in politics? Can't he hook her up with a job? But yeah, talk to your brother, Anne. So it's time for Desna and the rest to steal from Uncle Daddy's clinic, and Kenneth opens up the door for them, and they're stealing. And he's like, "Well," he tries to connect with Polly, and Polly's like, "Kenneth, this isn't the time." So as they're stealing, the receptionist she comes in and she picks up two bottles as well, and she's like, "You know what? Uncle Daddy is going to kill all of you girls, and also you, Ken." So of course Desna and her crew are very very worried about Uncle Daddy basically lashing out on them after he figures out that they stole from him. And yeah, in the morning Uncle Daddy walks into the salon and everyone thinks that he's here to talk about the stolen bills, but no, it turns out that Uncle Daddy is like, you know what, Desna, I need the license that you have, so I accept your term of increasing the license fee. Will you still have me? And Desna is like, you know what, Uncle Daddy, I appreciate you saying yes, but it's a little too late because again, Desna has already decided that she'll be the one who'll be selling pills, and Uncle Daddy doesn't like that, and he's like, okay, so you're really going to pick up a fight with me, huh? And Desna's like, yep. That's what's going to happen. And Uncle Daddy basically rushes out of the salon because Desna also refused to launder his money for him. And after he's gone, of course, Virginia is very, very worried. She's like, you know what? He was very angry right now. Just imagine how angrier he'll get if he figures out that we are the one who stole the pills from him. And that's not like, this is nothing. Uncle Daddy just likes to bark. He's all bark, no bite. He's basically a limp D, and I can handle that. And I'm like, here's to hoping, Desna. Here's to hoping. So Polly is still stuck on Joe. She's crying. Yeah, she's crying, remembering him in the bathroom. And Virginia knocks on the door. She's like, Polly, are you okay? Polly's like, yeah, I'm fine. She also ends up breaking the soap dispenser. She's being a mess. So she gets out of the bathroom, and Virginia notices that Polly isn't doing well, so they both have a talk. And Polly is like, you know what? Yeah. Polly is like, why doesn't Joe like me? Why doesn't he love me? And Virginia is like, you know what, Polly? You're too good for him. You need to move away from him. You need to get over him. You're just too good. And yeah, this is where Polly is like, you know what? I have the perfect plan how to do that. So she decides to burn Joe's car. And Virginia's like, are you sure about this? Polly is like, yep. I've learned that love means nothing, and I'm just going to burn his car, and I'm going to dive into arson. I'm like, okay, Polly. So Virginia decides to go and talk to Desna. She's still worried about Uncle Daddy basically coming after them. She's scared, understandably. And Desna's like, Virginia, don't let Uncle Daddy get into your head. We're strong as a crew. We'll stick together. We have been through a lot. And for women like us, nothing comes easy. So we have to stay strong. And as they're having this pep talk, Anne comes in because, again, because Polly told her that Desna won't be at the salon at 6 p.m. and she's here, but Desna's already here. So it turns out that Polly lied because Polly wanted Desna and Anne to meet face to face, and it doesn't go as planned. These two end up having some harsh words. They basically call each other names, and Desna is like, well, get out of my life. I don't need you anymore. You burned the casino. We could have been in there. We could have died. And Desna is like, but that's the point. No one died. The casino had to go, Desna. It was making you go crazy. And Desna is like, you're a traitor. You betrayed me. Get out of the salon. And Anne is like, okay, I'll do that. And as Anne is walking away, all angry, of course, Virginia, Jen, and Polly are sad because, yeah, even though they're crying, Desna and Anne are just not interested in mending the relationship. So Desna's like, you're all traitors, why the heck are you crying now? Anne and I are never going to happen, and I need you to choose a side. So either you're with me or you're with Anne. And Jennifer is like, no, Desna, that's not how it works. We stole those pills with you. We are also going to help you sell them, and we are grown adults. You can't force us to do anything. And I really liked seeing Jen put her foot down, basically telling Desna that no, she's not going to make the crew choose between her and Anne. And Desna, yeah, she understands what Jen is saying and she just storms off into her office. And while she's in her office, she remembers the good times they were having while singing karaoke. And yeah, she misses Anne, but she's hurt as well. So yeah, it's going to take time for these two to come to each other. So Anne she notices Uncle Daddy sitting outside. He's trying to talk to someone who speaks Korean, and Anne is like, "Hey, hand me over the phone." So she talks to the person, and it turns out that Uncle Daddy wanted that Korean person to launder money for him. And Anne is like, "Well, that's not going to work, Uncle Daddy, but I'll do it for you." And Uncle Daddy's like, "Are you sure you want to launder money for me? Aren't you with Desna?" Anne is like, "No, not anymore. And I'm pregnant. I need the job. And also, I know who stole your pills." And Uncle Daddy's like, wait, my pills have been stolen? And I was like, yep. Accept me, give me the job, and I'll tell you who it is. So Uncle Daddy ends up saying yes to Anne being the one who laundered his money for him. And this is where Anne is like, you know what? It's Desna who stole your pills. And of course, Uncle Daddy is very, very angry. And as these two are shaking hands, uh, Desna is the one looking at both of them from the window, and she's like, Ann gone betrayed me again, huh? And yeah, Uncle Daddy is storming towards Desna. Desna is storming towards Uncle Daddy. They're going to have a confrontation, and this is where the episode ends. This was a very, as far as my opinion concerned, this was a very enjoyable premiere. And yeah, let me know what you thought of Claw season number 4, episode number 1 down in the comment section below. I still think that Anne and Desna are going to be friends again, or I still hope so, but I could be wrong. And if I end up doing a written review of this for the Geeky Eddy, the link to that will be down in the comment section below. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the premiere episode. And until, yeah, and I'll be back soon talking about episode number 2. But yeah, until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later. Bye.